certain things that the ambassador was saying. Let's hear the views coming in from the scholar, Mr. Norton.
Um, did the party attempt to approach the ambassador to question her judgment? Because remember when Marco Rubio came and he talked about the party building that what he called Concussion Highway, there was an outcry. Has there been a similar outcry for this incident?
Well, I didn't follow it online, but I heard by reports that there was an outcry online. So, like I said, that is by report, so I can vouch for it. I do not believe that our approach should be really to engage the American ambassador at this stage, but to do just what we did, put the facts that point to a contrary position to the ambassador. Look, every ambassador serves the interests of their country. You notice I didn't use the word support that you used.
People's best interests at heart. I just look around at all of the infrastructure projects that are going on. And it's really important to note they're not just in Georgetown. I travel all around the country and I see it everywhere that I go. They are using the oil revenues that they're receiving now, and the budget is being allocated to create critical infrastructure that will benefit all Guyanese. And the president loves to say, you know, people sometimes criticize him because you can't eat a road. But the fact is that is going to allow the Guyanese farmer, Guyanese business people, the average Guyanese citizen to be able to move more freely and quickly about around the country. And that is going to improve the personal circumstances of the Guyanese people.
Contrary position to the ambassador. Look, every ambassador serves the interests of their country. You notice I didn't use the word support that you used. I think the US is happy with what is happening in Guyana at the diplomatic level in terms of their control. And therefore, to the extent that they are comfortable with that, they seem prepared to overlook the key elements. And so we thought that we need to bring it to the attention of the ambassador that these are issues that you are looking at in other countries. And it appears a kind of a convenience that you are not looking at it in Guyana. The very report I referred to on the indices stated only one positive about Guyana, and that is growth, economic growth.
Yeah, that's because they're looking down on the black nation. So they think they could tell you and sell you any dream. And you're wide awake and got to live in the reality. And you could see the poverty index. The poverty index is public, right?
Which is not a function of government's management, it's a function of oil. And all the other social security, corruption, etc., they scored very low. And so what we're saying is the ambassador, as she pursues her government's interests, must use diplomatic panache to ensure that whatever is delivered in a balanced way, and more importantly, takes into consideration the legitimate concerns of the Guyanese. You can't tell me Guyana is going fine when we wake up, police executing young men. You can't tell me Guyana is going fine when we are considered one of the most corrupt countries in the world. You can't tell me Guyana is going fine when the infrastructure you are building is collapsing just behind completion. We just saw what happened in Kokwani with the so-called New Year's trip. So what we are pointing out is the danger of turning a blind eye to rule of law, democratic principles, corruption, illegality such as trafficking in drugs, among other things. And we think that is the approach that should be taken. But at some time when we meet the US, we will say to them our concern, but we put our concerns in
that development, because you know when you work with a US company, you're going to have quality, you're going to have sustainability, and you're going to have very high business ethics standards and international quality. So working with the US was a wonderful decision that was made by your government.
Now let's talk human development. What are some of the areas? Earlier you spoke about partnerships with Mount Sinai and partnerships in the health sector, but what other areas or sectors that are being covered or collaborations are taking place with respect to Guyana, US?
Gosh, that's a hard question because there's so many. Yes, absolutely. And, the US government certainly is doing a lot here. You see it every day, but I really love the fact that US academic institutions, US private sector companies, US think tanks, they're all very engaged in Guyana. Perfect example, if you attended the Global Biodiversity Summit in July, you will have noticed that the Chicago Field Museum, Yale.
Yes, and perhaps we can talk about the acceptance of deportees from the US, the sole question of third party, we would call it third country people or something of the sort. Now, there has been talk about this, but is the party aware of a decision by the government to accept these people? And if so, what can be the reaction of the party should this become a reality?
All right, let me start by saying we oppose taking deportees, especially those with criminal records, and sending them to Guyana. Yeah.
If they get rid of the corruption and they raise the minimum wage so that persons can actually live on what they're able to make, you won't have a labor shortage, because persons from all over, remember they got millions of persons out of the country that are Guyanese, they would come back. At least 1 million would come back. Look at what's going on around the globe right now. If we analyze what's really taking place, how are we going to say that it makes sense for us to move forward and take third party deportees into one of the wealthiest nations in the world? What do you think they're going to do? Come on, man. You got to do better than that. Big up yourself to the Honorable Mr. Norton as he's highlighting these points.
I have no problem taking back Guyanese.
Yeah.
They're born here. They're entitled to come here. But we have a serious problem when you decide against our interests that you are going to take deportees with a criminal record when we are having difficulty in Guyana dealing with crime. That doesn't sound sensible to me. When we look at the justice system, the government is touting reform, but no reforms are occurring. So there's an added danger that they might spend whatever time in the prison, and then when they come out, problems for us. Now, at the same time, we acknowledge that there is a human resource shortage. But I can tell you, I ran into 2 quality fitter machinists at an establishment on the East Coast. Skills that we need, that we don't have from Cuba. But there is no program to ensure that we can have from migrants the skilled persons who we screen and regularize so that they contribute to the development of the human capital in Guyana. And so
Just bringing anybody.
there are options that the government has, but they seem only willing to concede to the US whatever the US wants. That is dangerous because, and like I've said before, we are not anti-United States. We are pro-Guyanese. We believe our interests must come first. And it cannot be in our interest for us to take deportees from another country in Guyana. We have a housing shortage. We have shortages in our education system, in our health system. And you are bringing undesirables to put additional strain on our social system. Now, there's a cost to it. While the government is saying, the government has a stupid argument that if you give social benefits, it's going to push inflation, increase inflation, which is garbage. There are many countries in which there are these social benefits and they don't promote inflation. Scandinavia is a case in question. And in Guyana's own experience, when we gave that 70% increase while we were in government, there wasn't an increase in inflation. But you are arguing you can't give Guyanese because of inflation, but you are now bringing people who are going to be dependent on our services and a threat possibly to Guyana. So I think that it's unacceptable. What our reaction will come from our engagement with the people of Guyana.
Thank you. The floor is still open for like 2 other questions.
If I can add in the meantime to what Mr. Norton was just talking about and the fact that the government is not investing in the Guyanese human resource. And that is something that can be further highlighted with the data, even coming out of the labor force survey, the most recent labor force survey issued by the government of Guyana through the Bureau of Statistics there. That survey was taken for the fourth quarter of 2025. And if you to go into that survey, you will see the real challenge that we have as a nation. We have of our working age population, over 40% of the persons in our working age population actually have less than, or the majority of them therefore have up to primary school education. Some of them only have nursery school education, not having a secondary school education. That's what we're working with. So we can further even expand that conversation to speak about the Ministry of Labor, in which currently the Ministry of Labor's budget is an insult. When we had a Department of Labor under the APNU, they were given much more resources. We have a budget of $1.558 trillion with an entire ministry with a working budget of, I would say, less than $2 billion, sorry, if you were to go looking at that. We have a lot more to be done when it comes to training. The government has not integrated as yet our education system with the skills that are demanded for a developing country for us to go in the direction we need to go. We've made this comparison and we've made these arguments several times when we talked about the gold scholarship in particular and how it is not done in a structured way. University of Guyana has been trying with the leadership that they were trying desperately. The government did not fund them as they had required funding and all of those things. We have serious challenges and the government is not putting any system in place to make sure that we get to that level. You cannot say that we're doing so many training. They love to go out there and talk about how many persons is graduating here and there. And when you look at the numbers that they are presenting from the Bureau of Statistics in the labor force, if it tells a different story. I'm
telling you, when you look at the numbers giving you a whole different conversation. Big up to all the MPs on Team Green, all the hard working brothers and sisters of the soil, right? Putting in all of that work to make sure that the nation is structured and running in a particular manner. Big up to all the travelers that are a part of the live right now. If you haven't already, ladies and gentlemen, hit that thumbs up button. Hit that thumbs up button and boost this video in the algorithm. That's the way that you support independent media. That's how you support Delta 9 Media. One love to all the travelers in the live. Let's get some of these details about the digits coming in from the numbers man himself, the Honorable Mr. Ashney Singh.
You all had an enjoyable and restful Easter weekend. I'm very pleased now to give you a further update on the rollout of the National Cash Grant Initiative, which was announced late last year by President Irfan Ali, and for which we made the necessary financial provisions in Budget 2026. First of all, you would recall a few days ago we had announced that for those central government employees for whom we have bank account information and for whom we pay monthly salaries into their bank accounts, we will be making direct transfers into their bank accounts. You would further recall that that number was 48,858 persons. So we did process, as I have previously indicated, direct transfers to 48,858 central government employees. You would further recall that I indicated that we have established a portal for self-registration. That portal is found at cashgrant.gov.gy. And I'm pleased to inform you now that through the facility of that portal, a total of 126,011 persons have self-registered. I am now even further pleased to inform you that out of that 126,011 persons who completed their self-registration, we have now processed direct transfers to the bank accounts of 91,688 persons.
All right, so the cash grant is on the way. Persons are getting their funds, but it was supposed to come since Christmas, but they mash past Christmas past, Easter past. People still waiting. I'm telling you,